is Kitty Blue. It is January the 6th, 2023. This is going to be week 1 of the weekly videos that I'm going to be starting on my YouTube channel here. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can see new content or get notification of new content. This one is going to be a huge, mega video, very long. Hopefully not too complicated, or hopefully not information that people don't want. Maybe somebody will find it helpful. I had posted, or I saw a post in one of the groups that I think they were creating a list or something with their I think it was in the Smart Dog group. They were saying that they kept a list of all the Smart Dog items that they had, like an inventory list. And I had commented oh yeah, I started doing this spreadsheet of my whole entire doll collection so that I can keep track of all the information. And so that is what we're going to view today. So like I said, it's going to be a very long video. Feel free to pause it, go do something, come back, watch it, pause it again, whatever you'd like to do. So yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of information. Hopefully I don't speed through it too much, and hopefully it's not complicated, and I hope that it might help some people as well if you want to start doing a spreadsheet or anything like that to keep inventory of your dolls. So let's start with the slides.
Let's go over the reasons why you would want to create a doll database or a spreadsheet to input all your information regarding your collection. I felt this could be used for multiple applications. You can use it to organize your collection, keep track of your characters, document future projects, insurance purposes, determine resale value, and much more. What would you want to include in your database? First, I think you would need to ask yourself if you're creating it for one specific purpose or multiple purposes, and that way you would have an idea of how many different tabs on your spreadsheet that you would create and the information that you might need. So what information is important that you feel that you would need on your spreadsheet? For me, I went with doll details and other details. So I want to document all my dolls, the company, the sculpt, the size, the resin color, whether or not I purchased it full price or sale price, if it was an event item, and measurements is a separate tab on my spreadsheet, which we'll see in a few minutes. That one is important, I think, so that you can have something to go back and look at if you're trying to find out what size of shoes you might need, wig you might need, clothing. You can check out the measurements of a body you might have or a head you might have to see what the neck circumference is, so that you can look for a new body or a new head, things like that. Other details that I wanted to include was if my doll had a company face up or an artist face up, or it still needed a face up. Any modifications that may have been done to the doll, any future details, meaning things that I want to do with the particular doll in the future, whether or not the doll is limited or stock. By stock, I don't mean in stock at a dealer or anything like that. By stock, I mean you can go to the website and this doll is their basic dolls that you can purchase at any time. And then lastly, character details. So things that I wanted to do to start on my database was I made a list of goals, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the database that I was creating and where I wanted to go with my collection. And so what I did is I made that list. I took each doll off the shelf and took photos of them. I documented on the spreadsheet what doll it was, the sculpt name, the name that I gave it, the company it comes from, and other details that you'll see when I show you the spreadsheet. While I had that doll out and taking pictures, I tested the posability. So I decided so that I could tell if maybe the doll might need restringing, maybe it needs sueding to pose a little bit better, or maybe it just doesn't have very good posing at all. That's going to be important with my criteria sheet, which is later on in the video. Also, at that time, you can inspect the doll for anything that needs to be done or any damage that the doll might have that you want to document down, how you feel about each doll. So while you have that doll out and you're like posing it or testing its posability, taking the photo, it's like, how are you connecting with the doll? The next one is pricing. So for me, as of right now, every time I purchase a doll, I immediately put it into my database so that I have that information there, so I don't have to go searching through receipts, searching through emails or anything like that. But that might be something that you might need to do before you start on your spreadsheet. And of course, determine the information that is important to you that you want to have on the spreadsheet. Criteria for mating collection versus selling. So this criteria, I created a criteria for my dolls, like each one. I had 8 different points, which we'll go over in a few minutes. First of all, let us go ahead and look at the spreadsheet. This is the spreadsheet that I created. As you can see down on the bottom, there are multiple tabs. If you're familiar with Excel or anything like that, that's what this form is. It's an actual Excel. So each column, you can put in information, you can, different categories, different lines, whatever you want to put in here. Mine is actually on Google.com, so it's a spreadsheet that I created on Google.com just because it was free and I don't have any further database than that. So this is actually my list. You can see there's a lot of different colors going on here, lots of different dolls. These aren't dolls that I have at this time. Some of them I actually sold. So that is just the tab that I keep track of everything. This is the tab that we're going to go over when we get more into the criteria. But as you can see here, the category or the lines that I wanted to do was like the doll company, the head sculpt, resin color, size, price, year that I purchased it, if it had any mods, is there any yellowing, was the face up from a company, did you do it yourself, does it need a face up, any blushing or anything that may be on the doll, doll name, which is for my dolls, what I decided to call them instead of their sculpt name, any discounts or other details about the price of the doll, and then these last ones here excuse me, have to do with the criteria that we're going to get to in a few minutes. So my next tab, I have a whole list of doll needs, and I believe this was the original list that I started when I was taking photos, and then I went through and actually, this is all actually alphabetized. So for the companies, I actually alphabetized all the dolls by company. So at first what I did is I pulled, like I said, pulled each doll off the shelf. I put their name down, where they came from. So that's what this looked like. As I was like taking photos and looking at the doll, trying to, making sure there's no damage or anything like that, I use this to add in all of the information. So like posability, I went 1 through 5, even though this one says 1, now 6. So let's see. So clothing, like what clothing are they wearing? Do they need different outfits? Is that their style? Is there any work needed to be done on the dolls? Do they have loose strings? Does it need to have a blushing, face up? Well, actually, that's over on this category here. And then I did write down here if it was limited or not. And this one, I actually did kind of try to do like the Spark Joy thing. There was a lot of 3s because there's a lot of dolls that I were just like in the middle. It's like, this is really cute, but it might, it's like, but it might be not a doll that needs to be in my collection. This category is just like the style of what my doll is. The race of my dolls. Ability, this column is for some of my dolls actually have special abilities, so that is the column that I was going to list down what their abilities are, just to have something to look back at if I need to get more information on my dolls. As you can see, I did color code some of that, so anything that is colored except for the yellow and the red are all things that need to be done, or the orange. The orange here is that I might be dolls I might sell at some point, or sooner or later. I'll probably end up selling them. So the yellow that I did, some of them are tasks that I completed. So you can use this database to keep track of like things that you need to do with your doll, and then document if you accomplished that goal. Next one, this one, ignore this picture for a second because that was just kind of a test thing that I was doing and I totally forgot it was on this page. So doll make, basically this is like stuff that I wanted to make for my dolls. So I was trying to make a list of, okay, these dolls from the other page, they needed more appropriate clothing for their style. So I started to list the doll, describe the outfits that I wanted to make, what style it was, colors that I wanted to use, and whether or not I already created or made the items. Like this one, for instance, Zuff is my anthro dog. I wanted to make him denim or black denim pants. He's more kind of a biker kind of dude. Blacks and whites, just kind of random things like that. I did end up making him some black pants, some denim jeans, and a black tank top, so I put that in this column. Getting to this lovely girl here. So this is something else that you could do on your spreadsheet. So this is a picture of one of my Smart Dolls. And this was when I was going through and taking pictures of all my dolls, I believe. And I'm like, I wonder if I could do it this way and have more information so that if anybody needed to look up information on my dolls, God forbid anything happens to me or happens to anybody. Don't want that to happen, but it's a nice like backup of, hey, this is the doll and this is the information. And then they could totally like go, oh, okay, this doll is a Smart Doll Valiant. I can go over to this doll list, find the doll, and find out how much, this doll actually was. I mean, you could put that information on here as well. I actually just added the company, the sculpt, and the size. But this is just information, her name, her style, her likes, dislikes, best friends, significant others, families, age, hair color, eyes, and then her company, sculpt, and size. You can continue down this list and put the price here or other information that is important that you may think is important for somebody that might be looking at your spreadsheet and looking at this doll so that they can match up this doll with the information, or for your own benefit just to have that information available to see your dolls. If you have a small collection, it probably would work great. I'm not sure whether or not I can do it because I have a lot of dolls and that's going to be a lot of photos. Okay, details. This is more details of the style of clothing for each doll. So this isn't stuff particularly that, oh, actually it is. So this is also information on here that things that I wanted to try and purchase for my dolls or that my doll needs. So for these two dolls, I wanted, since they're fantasy dolls, I wanted to get some multicolored. They wanted to have multicolored hair. I ended up making a wig for both of them out of yarn, and it was really cool, like yarn. Their outfits, like just to get an idea of like what I wanted to look for or to purchase or make myself. Family tree. So because I do photo stories, I have a lot of different characters that are a lot of different races. This isn't necessary. I'm not going to forget what race my doll is, but I just thought it would be fun to kind of like do a family tree. Eventually, I want to do this like an actual tree where there's a tree and there's the names are all over the tree. Maybe even having a tiny little photo of them. But these are some main characters that are in my photo stories. I'm not going to probably do this with all my dolls because not all my dolls are included in my stories. Next tab is measurements, and this is where I was talking about it could be a good idea to have all the information of the specific measurements of each of your dolls so that you can come back and look at it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, her foot size is 5.5, so I know what size of shoe that I need to look at, because you want to pay special attention to the measurements on a website, because MSD dolls have various different sized feet. A lot of my Resin Souls have slim feet. Fairyland Minifees I know have really slim feet. And then, you know, we're like Dollfie, Mini Dollfie Dreams have thicker feet. So it's important to have information on the size of certain things so that you can get the right size of shoes, because yeah, you don't want a bunch of shoes that don't fit your dolls and then have to resell them. Also, like neck sizes can be important if you're like looking for, if you only have a head or only a body and you're looking for a hybrid to put together with it. You can like look and see what their neck size is, their eye measurement. I know me personally, because I have so many dolls, I'm not going to remember what size of eye all of my dolls take because their eyes can be different. I mean, it's a difference between Soul Doll, which is a smaller head MSD, versus Resin Soul, which has the larger head. So their eye sizes are completely different. I do have other tabs here. CJ Inventory is for my Smart Dolls, and CJ Purchases is also for my Smart Dolls. I just actually created this, I think, last year. So I went through all of my clothing and accessories that I had that were purchased from Smart Doll, or I got in Utter Chaos bundles. And this is so that I can keep track of what I have, so I don't like end up with multiple items. And I can also keep track of the information as far as like which is actually the next one, CJ Purchases. This is all information of like the prices in yen, prices in dollars, and yeah, because if you want to resell a doll, it's good to have information on what you purchased it at, so that you, excuse me, so that you can get an idea of what you might be able to sell it for. And with Smart Dolls, I feel like even the Smart Doll clothes and accessories, as long as they're still in good condition, I feel like they keep their value really well. That's just something I've noticed in the few years that I've been collecting the Smart Dolls. The resin BJDs, it just really depends on the doll and the doll company, if it's something that is rare that people are looking for. So the pricing is a little bit up and down on the BJD resin side. The criteria sheet that I was talking about, this is just a system that I tried to create to determine how much I may like a doll and whether or not I want to decide to sell the doll. So it's pretty much a scoring system that I came up with for my own personal use. These points can be different for everybody if there's something more important than what I have listed. And this is pretty much to just maintain or to figure out how to downsize the collection if I would like to do that. So the number one thing was posability. How posable is the doll? So this is where I talked about taking a photo for each doll and seeing what is going on with the doll as far as posability. Again, you can sway dolls, you can restring them with better elastics. You can even wire some dolls to be more posable. So in general though, like when I did the posability, I did it as they were and notated whether or not they were swayed. And then later on, if I do re-swayed or restring a doll, I might change that point. So there's a total score of 40 points. So each of these criteria, 1 through 8, are going to be 5 points each. 1 being less posable, 5 being really poses like a dream. So number 2 for me is whether or not the doll fits into the majority of my collection. As I mentioned, I do photo stories, and those were all original characters that I had actually created. Well, not all of them. There was a main like 7 characters that I originally had created before I even got into the hobby. And then I added more characters along the way. So for me, that is, I shouldn't say that isn't the majority of my collection, but for instance, I really like fantasy dolls more than I like just human dolls. That's just my personal preference. Nothing wrong with, human dolls or anything like that. They're great. Some of them are just beautiful, but it's not how I want to do my collection. So the majority of my collection is going to be fantasy dolls. So pretty much, does this doll fit into that majority of the collection? Number 3 is size. Is it my preferred size? What is my preferred size? My preferred size is MSDs. You probably wouldn't think that because I have a lot of smart dolls now, but with resin, MSD is my favorite size. I really like the feel of the size of the doll. I feel like there's more, I shouldn't say more variety out there, but I feel like most dolls that are in that size range can kind of fit together. SD dolls kind of are all over the board sometimes. I mean, I know there's like different people, like their stature and everything. I totally understand that. But some of them are like, there's no way somebody has this long of legs. Anyways, on to the next. So yeah, my preferred size is MSD. So if it's a USD size doll, 1/6 scale, or a 1/3 scale SD doll, then it might be something that's going to have a lower score than my MSD dolls. Number 4, color. As in dolls, I also prefer fantasy colors. That's just my preference. There is nothing wrong with any color whatsoever. I'm not resin color racist or anything. I just like fantasy colored dolls. I like the different spectrums of color that can come out. I do have some dolls that are white and what I hate to say normal because normal is such a horrible, like, term to put a resin color. But the lighter skin dolls, natural skin dolls, I'm more likely to, I like the dark tans and then into fantasy colors, reds, blues, greens, yellows, all the colors. So for me, in that category, a doll that is the white or normal skin color might get a lower score than a red or blue or green doll. Number 5 is price. How much was the doll? Did I get it for a good price? Was it really expensive? You'll see in my spreadsheet, I did actually break this one down into different categories as far as like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are price ranges. So you'll see that on the spreadsheet when I get to that. Number 6 is if the doll is limited, whether or not I can purchase it again if I do decide to sell it. One is going to be a doll that is always on the website. It's a basic doll that they always carry. And 5 would be a limited doll that is completely discontinued and they're not going to make again. I shouldn't say they're not going to make again, because some companies do go back and remake some dolls, but in general, if it's limited, then it's usually only a certain amount are made, or there's only a certain time frame that you can purchase that doll. And number 7, do I like the head sculpt on the doll? And number 8, is the body to my liking? These are just things, like I said, that I wanted to try and figure out, especially with the head and body. It's like, okay, maybe there's a different sculpt out there that would suit this character better, so I could reshell the head, reshell the body, or reshell the whole entire doll. So it's good to have a point system of whether or not, or how I feel about each doll. Obviously, this is not going to be a foolproof system. It's very hard for me to go through my collection. I mean, I love dolls. I've always loved to have dolls my whole entire life. More fashion and Barbie dolls and stuff like that, not baby dolls and such. But it's hard for me to it's sometimes hard for me to let dolls go, even though I'm like, I don't do anything with this doll. It's not really my style anymore. It doesn't fit in. Or there might be a doll that I really like a lot and has a lot of meaning, but it might have a low score because it might be a light colored normal resin color, or the price was probably maybe too high. Different stuff. So there's different reasons for all that. All right, so let's get to the actual spreadsheet. So here we have again the list up here of the doll company, the head sculpt, resin color, size, the price of the doll, the year I received the doll, any modifications, if there's any yellowing, face up, blushing. I went through these in the last one. The doll name, if I received it at a discount, and then these last sections here are going to be the sorry about that, are going to be the 8 categories and then a total. So over here you see it says scoring 40. So since there are 8 different criterias and 5 points for each, it can have a total score of 40. This is the price that I was talking about as far as scoring that price column. And then I'll go over the colors here, which are pretty, you can pretty much understand what that is just by reading it. So let's just do the first doll here that's on the top of the list, a 5-star doll, Aiden. And I got him in a resin color. He's USD sized. I did do the face up myself, and I named him Marrow. His posability I put down as a 4. For at least their USD size. I'm not sure about any of their other dolls. 5-star doll, the USD size did pose really well. I had no problems getting him to stand. I didn't have to fiddle around with him. He sits really well. And then if he fits into my collection, that one I should probably bump up to a 3. I have it at a 2, but he is a fantasy doll, so he does fit into the total collection of my dolls. The size 2 is what it should be, because it's not an MSD, so it shouldn't have like a 5 or whatnot. The color I rated as a 4 since it's a fantasy color and I really like the fantasy colors. The price was a 4, which this one I actually have to double check because if you look over here on the price, the score price, that is in between $200 and $400, but I want to say, unless it included shipping, I want to say that 5-star doll, as far as I remember, were on the under 200 list of companies. So I'm going to have to double check that, but right now that's at a 4. It is a limited doll. It is no longer available. His head is a 3. His body is a 2. The head I rated a 3. I really should rate it a 4 because he really is cute. I really like his head. His body is just like, it's all right, but it does pose well. So he ended up with a total score of 26. You can see this one has all the different criteria pointed out, and that is marked as 21. These are other notes that I put off to the side. I went back and added this in that it was now sold out. So when I first put this doll into the database, it was a doll that you could purchase online, but I don't know if 5-star dolls stopped selling dolls altogether or they discontinued a lot of their dolls. I haven't checked back on that yet, since they didn't really have too many dolls that I actually wanted to purchase. So the color coordinating part of this, I had to like determine what my total score, because I don't think any of my dolls ended up at a score of 40. So there is no perfect doll that is in my collection. Some dolls did actually go as high as 36, 35, 34, and those are actually Resin Soul dolls. So they are actually still my favorite company. But anything, so I decided anything under 25, I was going to go through and highlight in green. Just to kind of like, okay, it kind of scored low. I have to go back and look at it and decide like if there's something about it or some reason why I want to keep it. Like for instance, this Bobobi doll that I have, which I just actually recently posted a picture on Instagram of him. He has these really cool mechanical arm mods that the previous owner had did, and I love it. So it's like, even though he is in white resin, he's like in the middle of the road for posing and all the other categories, and it's at a 23, which is under 25. I decided that I am definitely keeping him because I like the way he looks. So that is like one thing where it's like, okay, if it's under this, I probably should sell it, but what is the reason why I am holding on to it? Any of the ones, then I went back through and I'm like, okay, are there any dolls that, even if they are over 25, are there any dolls that I can see that I might want to sell at some point? So we have Jeremy here, which is a doll leaves in Aspen Tan. That was a limited color that was from Denver Doll Emporium. And he got a score of 31 because the posing on that Doll Leaves doll is great. He fits into the collection because when I first got him, he was going to be a rabbit character, but I changed it. The size is perfect. Resin color is really, really nice. He is limited. You can see on the head and body, I was just like, about 2 and 3. But I could sell it because he is a human-eared doll, and I'm not really sure if it's a character that is going to fit into my other characters if I turn it into an anthro kind of hybrid, like my core dolls are that are in my photo stories. So he is shown in yellow. The ones in blue, I went back through and highlighted the ones in blue that I am currently selling or am going to sell soon. So this Resin Soul, I'm sorry, Bobobi March doll that is in dark gray. It's on a boy body. I'm going to reshell him in MSD. So I put him in blue because he's going to eventually get sold. The ones in orange, obviously, as it says, have sold. So those are dolls that I have sold. Now, going back to the totals here, like I said, the ones that were higher on this little demo here were my Resin Souls. So the number 30, the one that got 36 was my custom doll. Sorry about that. Computer's going crazy. So the one that got 36 is a custom doll that I'm not sure why it's doing this. Oh, let's try this again. So this particular doll is a Resin Soul. I got him in green resin. It's their regular green. It's not a custom green. However, he is a character that I created and sent some information to Resin Soul, sent photos in of what I had in mind, and they created my original character for me. And he is a Cyclops. He is just amazing. I really love him to death. As you can see, his head is a number 5. His body is a number 4. He's definitely limited because it was custom made. I had it custom made off of my original character. And the price was around was number 4 because it was a custom doll. It did go over the normal range of price for Resin Soul dolls in that size. So the least number belongs to the Dollmore Trinity. That is the half scale doll that is 110 centimeters tall. She is very huge. She's very hard to try and dress, try to pose. It's very hefty. She's solid, but she ended up with an 18. Her price is a 1 because it is in between 800 and 2K. So yeah, she didn't do very well. The only thing she got a high score on was because she's a limited doll, because all their Trinity dolls just have a certain quantity of being sold. And I think that is it. So in conclusion, just have fun with the spreadsheet. Do whatever you want. Add the tabs. Figure out the information you want to put in there. Color coordinate it. Add the photos like you saw on the one tab with the Smart Doll picture. I think this is like a great way to get back kind of into the hobby or bring joy back to it. When I was like handling each doll individually and taking photos, I felt really like I was connecting with the doll or not connecting. And I think it might keep me on track with my doll plans, but after I started collecting the Smart Dolls, I kind of got off the rail to my normal doll plans. I think the spreadsheet could be used for a budgeting tool so that you can see how much you're spending on each item. I mean, you can add in everything you want. You can add in the clothes that you buy, the wigs that you buy. You can add in all that information to see how much you're spending on one doll. And you have all that information in one place. So you can go back and look at that spreadsheet for any information that you may need. Finally, the one thing that is might be very helpful or might be a great idea to do a spreadsheet like this, or at least document some information down, whether it be on a spreadsheet or on paper or however you like to do it, is to have an inventory for your loved ones. God forbid, I don't want anything to happen to anybody, but none of us ever know what's going to happen. And unfortunately, it does happen. I've seen some people that have passed away in the hobby, and their whole entire collection went to an auction house, which is probably easier maybe for the family to do it that way. I'm not sure, or they might not have had family and it was just an estate sale and somebody bought up all the dolls and then put them all up on auction. I'm not particularly sure on each situation, but that does happen. So this way, with the spreadsheet, or however you want to document each of your dolls, it could give a good point for your loved ones to have how much your doll is worth or how much you paid for it, so that they can get an idea of how much they may be able to sell it for. They're probably going to be shocked at some of this if they don't know how expensive the doll hobby is, but I think it's really good, important information that might be helpful, also for insurance purposes. So if you're insuring your hobby or any collection, I think it's a good thing to have down all that documentation so that it's easy to find the information if anything ever happens.
And that is a wrap up for the very long video of the spreadsheet database. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to comment below. Again, hit that subscribe button so that you can get notification of upcoming content. I'm going to try and do a weekly video each week with different content. I don't know ahead of time what I'm going to be doing, but it's going to be different things, like either talking about some of the characters that I have of my dolls, or comparisons, videos, or anything, any kind of information that I'm just going to throw out there that is doll related. So hopefully the video might have been a little bit helpful. Sorry it was a little bit morbid about the whole, like, if something happens, but things do happen. So I feel like that is a great start, because I know my husband doesn't know how much all these dolls cost. I mean, he has an idea of how much they cost, but he doesn't know how much each one cost individually. So now he's got this whole spreadsheet that he can look at. Although I do need to do the whole photo taking so that he can put together the information with the correct doll. And that is my spreadsheet video. Next time will be next week. I think I'm going to be filming these every Friday, and I might post it on Saturdays, but I will post on my Instagram, so be sure to check out my Instagram. I will post notification that I'm going to be putting out a new video. And yeah, hit that like button. Again, feel free to put any comments below. Things that might have been helpful, things that weren't helpful, whatever you want to put, that's fine. Like I said, I know it was long-winded, but yeah, I had fun doing the database and doing the whole spreadsheet. Taking pictures of all my dolls was a great chore. That actually I think I did that in 2021, but I have new dolls that I need to take pictures of. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay safe. Until next time, bye.